my tire.
Yeah.
I've never used that ever. Everybody in, or we got some?
There'll be a few coming back.
Coming back. All right. So, hi everybody.
Hello.
How many real estate investors do I have in a room? Awesome.
No.
All right. How many have never invested in real estate? Okay. How many want to invest in real estate? Who wants to double or triple their income this year through real estate? Awesome. So we got a good crowd. I'm in the right place.
Yes.
All right. So my name's Cliff Gager, and you might or might not know who I am. Some of you have met me, some of you haven't. Boy, the acoustics in here are excellent.
Isn't that nice?
Everybody, yeah.
The patio and the wine.
Yeah. Oh, wine?
Yeah.
Oh, don't get me going. I start whining, you know. So my name's Cliff Gager. I've been doing real estate investing since 1992. So I've done a few houses. Somewhere around, I don't know, how many do you think I would do since 1992?
1,500 or two.
200? That's
1,500.
You read my thing. Well, I've got 17 years as a real estate investing mentor on top of doing that. So back in 1997, I started teaching. I went into the seminar businesses. And it was not by choice. Anybody here divorced? Woohoo! How about the other half? So I ended up finding my way into the seminar business through an ad in the newspaper. Prior to that, I had owned a real estate office, a mortgage company, and we had bought, fixed, and sold over 248 houses, and we did that in 3.5 years. So I did do somewhere around 200, but I did it in a relatively short period of time. And what does that mean to you guys? Well, I've got 22 years in the investing business and in the mortgage business, so my experience comes from the mortgage side. Anybody in the mortgage business? Anybody used to be in the mortgage business? Yeah. So the mortgage business back then was extremely lucrative. They had a thing called, well actually they didn't have a thing called Truth in Lending back then. Do you ever hear of a Truth in Lending? It's a TIL form. Truth in Lending is where I have to tell you how much money I'm going to make on your deal. We didn't have that back then. So I was making about $10,000 to $15,000 per loan on a $100,000 mortgage.
Oh my God. Wow.
Okay. Well, it was, you know, it's
The good old
fair.
days.
I did a lot of work for that. Well, actually, the processors actually do all the work. I just took put the deal together. What I did was I worked with people that couldn't qualify, couldn't get the loan. This was before B, C, and D financing. There was either you got approved or you didn't. Okay. So what I did is I took people on a journey to get them qualified. As that was happening, I found it really difficult to get into real estate agents. Anybody a real estate agent? Come on, raise your hand if you are. Hire. Broker? Broker? No? Okay, that's good. Because my ex-wife was a real estate agent. I don't really like them very much. But because I came from the mortgage side and I would help people get qualified, I couldn't get into the real estate offices, honestly, because I looked like a punk. I looked like a punk kid. I was in my early 20s, and I was Joe Redneck. Okay, I had the mullet, the whole 9 yards. So they didn't want to let me in, and I found that they were just keeping me from my business. Okay, they were keeping me away from my clients. So I went the old school way. I went to the newspaper, and I started working with sellers to give them mortgage information, which nobody did back then. So long story short, I met two guys that were buying, fixing, and selling, and then the rest is history. I did all their financing, I did all their funding for the acquisitions, I did hard money loans, I did all kinds of financing. And I would help them with their leads on their mortgages. I would qualify their people, and if they didn't qualify, I would get them qualified. Legally, I mean, it was legitimate. It'd take about 6 or 7 months to get them qualified, but then we had buyers ready to close. So as soon as the house got done, we had it closed. It literally closed in about a week. And I realized sitting there watching, you're not coming for me, I hope. I drove like that. I'm still shaking, look. Because it's like, you know, you're playing, what's that game? That video game that you're car chasing all the time? I live that.
Michael.
But anyways, as I'm sitting there at the closing table, now I'm making really good money, okay, doing the mortgages. And what I also saw was, because I knew the deal, I knew what they paid for it, I knew what they did in construction, because I did the acquisition side for them as well. What I knew was what their profit margins were. And although I was making, say, 10 grand on a $100,000 house, he was making 20. And the only thing that I saw was I was sitting at the wrong chair. Does that make sense to you? Okay, when I was sitting at the title company, I was the one orchestrating everything. Guys, you ever go to a mortgage closing or closing with a mortgage? Who runs the closing? I'm a control freak too. But as I'm sitting there, I'm looking at the HUD-1 and I'm seeing, what's the first thing I look for? Make sure my commission was right? You don't guys don't get this. That's the most important thing about the whole closing. But what I also saw was the net to seller. And when I saw that, all I needed to do was move from this chair and sit in his chair, because I was doing everything already on the financial side. As far as the construction side, that's easy, okay? Because I knew all the guys that were doing it. I'd go visit the houses, so I knew them all. And I knew all the realtors that were giving him his deal. So all I did was put myself into that seat. And that's the short story of it. Isn't that pretty cool? So 3.5 years later, I bought, fixed, and sold 248 houses. And that was fun. Now I was averaging $10,000 to $20,000 on the mortgage and $10,000 to $20,000 on the profit margin of the properties. So I worked on small deals. Oh God, it's over. I worked on small deals, but I made big profits. Is that okay? Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
I like that. So, back then in the mid-90s, if you would have told me the California people were, because I did this in Florida, that they were doing the same exact identical houses for $300,000, $400,000, and $600,000 that I was selling for $100,000 to $110,000, $120,000, $130,000, I thought you guys were nuts. And then in 1997, I made my way out here, and holy smokes, that's a neat dog. That's a pretty dog. All right, so anyways, anybody see Up, the movie Up?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know the dog Doug?
Paul!
So that's what I did. I started buying and selling my own deals, and I started my own mortgage company, and I started my own real estate office. And I bought and fixed and sold in hundreds of single-family residences. And I was at a point where I had this big company, I had a marriage, and to make the long, sad story short, I came home one night, and she says, "Oh, by the way, I'm leaving." And I'm like, "Oh, what time are you coming back?" So I drank for a year in a town called Ciudad Juarez. Anybody know where that is?
Yeah.
Right across the border from El Paso. Now they cut your heads off
Right.
down there, so it's too much for a beer. I did get to spend a couple days in jail down there. I had a really nice pair of boots, and when the policeman, or the policia, said, "I like your boots," I didn't understand Spanish. That meant, "Give me your boots." So with a big knot on my head, 3 days later, $10,000 bail, I got out without my boots. And he actually had my boots on when they let me out. So, anyways, since then, since 1997, I got into the seminar business, and I don't want to bore you with it, but anybody ever go to a real estate seminar? Okay, like a workshop, or you go to the free preview, and then you go to the workshop. What do they sell the workshop for? Like $1,500? Remember back in the day when they sold for like $5,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2000
Yeah.
1997.
It's in 1997. I know one company that's selling for $197. Same speakers, just different room. So you guys have gone to one of those, right? Okay, so did you guys go to the workshop? And what do they do at the workshop? They teach you real estate?
It's a business program.
Sometimes.
Teach you to raise your credit card.
Teach you how to raise your credit card limits. See, because the guys in the back of the room are watching the people who come in the next day and say, "Yeah, I got $30,000 on my credit card." They're like, "Oh, that one in the row too," and then, right? Because what's going to happen?
They're going to sell you
You know, we've been watching you, and you've got what it takes. So you think they're saying, "Oh man, I got it," and they're like, "Yeah, you got the credit card because we watched you raise your hand."
Right.
So the good thing was I wasn't part of that. I was the $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 product that you bought. I was the guy that showed up and taught the class. I was the mentor, the boots on the ground, the solo mentor, whatever company that you want to call it, I worked for several of them. Yes?
You weren't the boots on the ground, your boots were in Juarez.
Very astute observation. I like that. Awesome. So it was fun. I got to show up and play the big shot role. Emotionally, with the divorce and all the things that happened to me, I was kind of wrecked. And I was drinking a little bit. I wasn't drinking that much, but I wasn't drinking that little either. So I got to help people just like you guys, if you paid the $25,000, to actually teach you guys a class that actually worked. And the interesting thing is out of the 5 or 6 guys that were out on the road that were working for the same company that were actually doing the same class that I was doing, I was the only one that had ever flipped a house. Okay? So I got a lot of phone calls. Cliff, they asked this question. Cliff, they asked this question. So my phone is ringing all the while the classes are going on because they didn't know it. So I helped develop better classes, better classes, better classes. And I worked for Robert Sheeman, Rancic, a company called Evolution, which they did a whole bunch of people. Trump University, Trump Institute. Did you catch that?
Yeah. It's on video, so
Yeah.
be careful.
Yeah, I don't even say his name anymore.
Okay.
I can mouth it. I could do an imitation.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, that's going to be on video. He'll love that. Anyways, and I don't care. So, and Than Merrill, Fortune Builders, I worked with them as well. And basically what I did for the last few years in the seminar business is I owned a company. I had the guys that did the training because these were guys that I handpicked, and they would come out and they would teach your $40,000, $50,000 class. And that's what I did. Until I met a woman who was a nun. She lived in Baltimore. She lived in Section 8 housing, and they got her for $60,000 on her credit cards. And I liked the woman, but she was a nun. She's really good at nun stuff, right? But as far as coming up with negotiating contracts and all that, I think she had very little chance. So I went to the company, I said, you need to give this woman her money back. And they says, why? She paid, she's good to go. And that's pretty much when I left. I left the business because I couldn't take it anymore. So, long story short, I'm going to teach you today how to negotiate like a honey badger. Anybody know what the honey badger is? Did anybody already see this presentation? Okay, is this good? Okay, it's a really good one. So there he is, there's the Mr. Honey Badger. Have you seen the honey badger video on YouTube? The one with the language. All right, it's just really funny. Anyways, the honey badger doesn't care. And there's a lot of expletives in there, but he just doesn't care. He does what he wants and he takes it. Anybody want to be like that in real estate? If you're not like that in real estate, you're not going to get rich. Okay? And are you going to get rich overnight? Can you? I did. Oh, did I mention I'm a 9th grade dropout?
Made it all the way to 9th grade?
I did. I went to Catholic school in the beginning, so I got the bruises to prove it.
You felt guilty, that's why you helped the nun.
There you go. I never put it together.
Yeah, but you couldn't alter her habit, could you?
Hey, that's none of your business. So, I get it. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to teach you how to write an offer that literally works. A lot of people negotiate what? What is the first thing that you would price? Okay, most people fixate on that, and they don't fixate on anything else but the numbers, the math. Okay, but there's a whole plethora. I mean, there's what? 19 pages now? 9 on the California, and then what? 17 pages of addendums, if that's all they send. It's endless. I mean, page after page. Do you know what each piece of material is on there? It's a cover your assets for the real estate agents and the broker, right? All it is instructions to the judge who gets what, when, and where, and how. And if they don't perform, what happens. Okay, that's all it is instructions. So when you look at it as an instruction manual, you can understand why us guys never read it. Guys don't read instruction manuals. We put things together without them, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go to the next slide. All right, so I want you to move your offers to the top. Now, what I'm going to show you is not going to guarantee that you get the deal written at that price, okay? Right? Can anybody come up here and say, if you do it this way, you're going to get 99% of your deals accepted? Does that work? I wouldn't be up here, would I? No. No. Why wouldn't I be up here?
You'd be out doing deals.
Oh, I am doing deals. I delegate.
You do a lot.
I have a website that does everything. So, anyways, it's just to get you talking with the seller, because most of the time the sellers, well, when I offer my offers, they do that inflatable balloon. You ever see that one? Right? You ever see that one? Yeah, that's going to be on camera, and it shouldn't be, right? But anyway, I don't care. Anyway, so I want to talk about the typical way that you structure a purchase agreement. How many have filled out a contract? Okay. How many have filled out one this week? Okay, why not?
I wrote them this week.
You wrote something this week for somebody else?
Yeah.
Okay. How many people are real estate investors? Okay. How many of you, keep your hands up, if you wrote an offer this month, keep your hand up. Okay. How could you be a real estate investor and not be putting in offers? Okay. This is something that I want you guys to do. The most important thing is to write offers. Okay. When I write offers on an area, when I go into an area and I want to buy houses in that area, I write offers on everything, all of them. Can you do that? Right? So, but I want you to write them differently, because I was just in Phoenix last weekend, and Phoenix, does anybody know about the Phoenix market? It's going crazy. There's like 8 million investors and 4 houses. Okay, but I'm going to touch on a little bit of it here. There is also nobody putting in offers like I do. Okay, except there's going to be 5 or 6 people that are going to be doing this week. Okay, so here's what happens on a typical real estate offer. When you write an offer, it's a purchase agreement, right? Is it okay if I teach you something?
Please.
Okay, good. All right. Do you guys ever have guys come up here and do nothing but sell you something all day?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's last. So it's an all-cash offer, no contingencies. I start my offer at 50% of fair market value. Okay, what is fair market value? Anybody?
Whatever people determine it's worth.
Okay, what people?
It could be the owner, it could be the buyer, it could be anybody.
That's perfect. That's exactly the true definition, and I got mad at a realtor one time because she actually told me this is what the true definition, and she was right. I couldn't understand why she was asking a certain price for the house, because I comped it out at 600 and she was at 800. It was in the Hollywood Hills. So I called her back and I was mad. And I'm like, how in the hell can you justify to me selling a house that's worth $600,000 for $800,000? She says, well, it's real simple, Cliff. When you agree to buy it for $800,000, my client will be in full agreement to sell it to you for $800,000, and then you'll close on the deal, and then you will own that house. And that is the true definition of fair market value, because you just proved that. And I was like, eh. And I hung up, because I was like, damn it, she's right. It's true. It's what someone is willing to sell something for, and if there's another person out there willing to buy it for that, that's your market value. Okay? Now, how do appraisers twist that into a valuation that can be measured? They compare it to other sales. So now you'd say, well, if all the houses sold for $100,000, they would never increase, correct? Right? Because if you sold it for $100,000 and your neighbors all sold for $100,000, the comps would all be $100,000, and you could never get what? Appreciation. So in comes supply and demand. So I'm not going to go into the whole thing. You guys got it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors, but the whole definition of fair market value is what will it sell for today, according to the market comparables. Is that fair? Okay. I'll tell you, I meet a lot of investors, and 99% of them do not know that. Because especially when they send me deals, they Cliff, you want to buy this wholesale deal? Comp's out at $500,000. I do the comps and it's $300,000. I look at their repairs and they say the repairs are $100,000, and I look at the repairs and they're $160,000. And I'm thinking, wow, what a bargain! I could buy this. Right? So, and then you try to explain it, but anyways, if you do it right from the beginning, that's where it's all at. So I'm going to buy the house as an all-cash offer. Everybody else put in all-cash offers, right? You get your fake proof of, you get a proof of funds letter. What? You get a proof of funds letter, because right, everybody's got $500,000 to buy a house here in Santa Barbara. So you find somebody that does, and you borrow their money. So you get the proof of funds, you send that in, you put an all-cash offer. In other words, there's no mortgage contingencies. There's no contingencies on the money. Okay. The next line is there's no contingencies on the property. We're going to buy it as is, whereas with any and all defects. Okay. Does that make sense? Yes. Yes, Cliff, that makes sense. Wow. Tough crowd. Anyways, this contract is assignable. I want you to write in the special remarks section that this contract is assignable. Now you're like, well, Cliff, it has a checkbox. Yes, I know. I want you to write it in there because why? I want it to stand out. What does that tell the seller?
You're going to sell it.
You don't have the money. Right? Oh, I know where this proof of funds letter came from. That other doctor on that other deal. So, and look at that. The proof of funds letter is written exactly the same way as it is for Cliff. So, anyways, the contract is assignable. This is what typical real estate seminar companies teach their people how to buy properties. And I used to buy them this way, but this doesn't work anymore, but I'm going to show you why. Due diligence period of, what is California now, 12 days? 17 days. How many of those get crossed out and reduced to like 10? All of them. Especially if it's an REO or an estate property. So we're going to just put the typical due diligence period in there, and we're going to close on or before the 30th day after the effective date. Now, what is the effective date? Anybody not know? You can raise your hand. So everybody knows what the effective date is.
No, I don't know.
Okay, the effective date is when I sign it, right, when I make the offer, and you sign it when you accept the offer, and then I see it. Okay, I have an actual contract that's in effect. Okay, that's a legal definition. It actually is. It's legal term.
How does that work with like computer signatures?
As soon as you have 2 wet signatures on a contract and it's been delivered to me, whether it's electronic, today they'll take electronic. It would be considered a contract. Okay. Now, the neat thing is, well, I'll tell you in a minute. And then the last thing, the earnest money deposit will be delivered 3 days after the effective date. In other words, once I know that it's a deal, I'm going to give them, what, $100 to $1,000 is what typically you want to put down, because you don't want to put down a lot of money, right? Okay. Why? Because it might not go through. It takes the realtors forever to get the money back. Anybody ever deal with that? Yeah.
Earnest money.
What's that?
It's called earnest money.
Oh, I know. So, you try to make that as small as possible. How much is necessary to be legal?
$1.
Usually $1. It depends. Some states set for larger purchases, they want $100 or $1,000. It all depends on the state. California is $1. So if I give you a contract and I give you $1, that's consideration. That makes the contract legal and binding. That's all. Could be a note. Has to be something of value. Is a note of value? Could be. Depends on who gives it to you. Right? If it comes with that PDF form of the proof of funds letter, and it's got the same guy's signature on it, I can't be worried. Anyways, this is what typically, anybody write offers similar to this? Maybe not word for word, but close to it. Yeah, typical. Okay, so what I want to do is, I want to show you how I structure my agreements. Can you guys see? Okay, I forgot. A little bit different, but a little bit the same. So again, it's an all-cash offer, no contingencies. I am going to offer 50% of fair market value. Oh, on the first one, when you offer 50%, what are they going to say?
No.
You're going to get that balloon, right?
Right.
Yeah, they're going to. So you're going to get a no. So you should offer what? More?
No.
Because if you're going to get a no and you already got no, you might as well go for it and get another one. You've already got no. Okay? Yeah. So I did a deal in Pasadena, and I'll make it a real short story. I bought it for $927.5, and I sold it while I was standing in the street. I bought it, and I sold it to this guy over here. And then he sold it to another person, and then I ended up doing the rehab on it. It's a long story, but it's funny. and I made 3% of the sale and managed the rehab, and we sold it for 1.7. So it was a good deal. It was all right. I got a truck.
Nice hanging around.
It's about a truck, you know. What the hell. The interesting thing was, I at one point in time asked the seller, because it was an asset management company, what was their bottom line? Because I mean, they really pushed me to make an offer. So when I threw out the $927.5, he accepted it immediately. And of course, I was what?
Pissed.
Pissed. Yeah, because if they accept your first deal,
Something's wrong.
you're doing it wrong. Okay. Pay attention. Okay. Now, what is? How much do you think? $400,000.
Whoa!
Yeah. I lost. I lost $500,000 on the table because I didn't say 400,000. I already had no at my number, right? Because I thought they were going to say no. So when he said yes, so you never know what you don't know, unless you know what you don't know. You know. Right? You guys get that? So if you don't know what their bottom line is, how do you know you're really going to get a no? You don't. You don't. Guys, it's really going bad. You don't know. You know.
No.
I just stopped shaking from the drive. Okay. All right. So that's going to stay the same. I am going to go in at 50% of fair market value. And the reason I do that is because it's a good place to start. Okay. Is it easy to go backwards once you start negotiating? Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that afterwards. Okay, but yes, it's hard to go backwards. If it's a $100,000 asking price and I offer $80,000 and I really want to buy it for $60,000, it's hard to go backwards 20, right? Okay, it is. It really is. Unless you get the big balloon, you know. As is, whereas, with any and all defects, defaults, anything that's wrong with it. If it has termites, I'm going to buy them all. Right? Right? They don't need to separate the men from the women and termites, you know. This contract is not. So literally what I want you to do is I want you to write that in the section that allows you to handwrite something in. And I want you to put is not really large. What does that tell the seller?
That's the buyer. Yeah.
Player. Okay? Right? If it's not assignable, that means I probably what? Have the money, and I'm going to buy the property. Okay? Is that a good thing?
Yeah.
Of course it is. The due diligence period, I'm gonna write my due diligence period at 48 hours. Okay, write down 48 hours. The reason I say 48 hours is, what is 48 hours? Okay, which one's longer? 48 hours, or which one's shorter? 48 hours or 2 days? Yeah, because it's hours. It's a psychological gameplay that we're playing with the seller. Because they're going to look at that and they're like, ooh, wow, that's like tomorrow. They do that. I've heard them say that. So you're going to be ready in like tomorrow? Like 48 hours. They don't have to be that smart to sell the property. So the closing is going to be on or before 5 days after the effective date. Can they close in 5 days?
Probably not.
Probably not. Any title company people here? None? No? Okay, I can lie then. No, I would never do that. So, yeah, I worked in the seminar business for a long time. That's why I don't work there anymore, because I didn't fit in. Anyways, 5 days, what does that tell them? First thing they're going to say is, Cliff, we can't close in 5 days. I'm like, I know. When can you? See, all I did is I just put it, what? On them. Okay? Now, instead of them worrying about, Jesus, this guy going to be able to close on this, they're like, oh my God, how are we going to be ready to close for him? Completely different psychological aspect. Okay? And then the last one's really cool. The earnest money deposit will be delivered 3 days after the effective date for the amount of the offer. Wow.
It's everything.
Well, if you're going to give them a note for $1,000, why not give them a note for $250,000 if that's what your purchase price is? Okay? How many days do you have to put that $250 up?
3 days.
3 days. How would you like more time? Glazed over looks here. All right, so oops, what happened? Here we go. Oh, okay, we got to